Seven Nation Army couldn't hold me back.
Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast. And now, stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joel Jacob. With me, I got my guy, Kev. And listen, man, I know everybody's a little disappointed because last night, Knicks came into Miami, and I ain't gonna lie, I ain't even gonna say it's they. It was more Karl Anthony Towns, man. And you know what? I'm gonna give it to him because last time I was just completely making fun of the guy, referring to him as Big Purr and stuff. And then he gonna go make me look like that. So I'm kind of mad at the Heat for making me look that bad yesterday night and making him seem like he was more than just that. The dude had 44 points, which is unacceptable. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care if he's an all-star or whatever. That guy is nothing to me. All right. Like, I was seeing, and it's crazy because I'm seeing like the craziest stats being posted all over, what's it called, Twitter, everywhere. They saying he 10-1 over Bam. And like, shoot, after like the game Bam had, and that's my guy, by the way. Y'all ain't gonna hear me slander him. But geez, bro, last night, Bam had his struggles. And when you have that plus Cat going off like that, it looks so bad. But I'm not too worried about him, and we'll get more about that into the show. Overall, like, it was just, we had that in that first half, man. I was feeling real good about this squad. But then going into that second half, something that the team addressed after the game, that third quarter, man. Like, we always talked about the third quarters and how, like, we need to part ways with that. And it seemed like we were on the road of doing just that. But so far this start of the season, it's been there and it's hit us really bad. And obviously we've been able to maintain it to a point where we ended up at least winning 2 of our first 4 games of the season. But it still led to 2 other losses last night and then that very first game of the season. So overall, man, like, it was not good, especially when you see Knicks fans celebrating in your home arena. You got folks going crazy after each bucket. You got folks sitting courtside who's just standing up having a good time whenever the Knicks do something good. So when you see stuff like that, it doesn't feel good, to the point where you got "Let's go Knicks" chants in your own arena. And man, like, and we were saying this last night in that chat, Kevin. Like, it's screw New York always, right? And like, listen, y'all don't understand. I'm still going over some traumatic stuff. Like, I'm a Lynx fan, WNBA, if y'all know that. And I just watched my team get cheated out of a championship like a couple Sundays ago, and I'm still not over that. So to watch that, and then now watch the men's New York team come in and do what they did to Miami, it's not a good feeling. But you know what? We'll figure this out, though. Kev, how about you, man?
Yeah, luckily my Dodgers was in the Bronx yesterday and got the Yankees out of here. So at least we got a little win over New York. So shout out to the Dodgers, man. But in this game, man, it looked like a team that's still trying to put together. It looked like 2 teams that are still trying to put together, right? The Knicks, obviously, with the big-time trade right before the season, getting Big Purr, trading away Julius Randle, trading away Dante DiVincenzo, and they're pretty much trying to go all in on what they believe is a championship window. And when you have Jalen Brunson, you have Mikal Bridges, you brought back OG Anunoby, you lost Isaiah Hartenstein, but, they're still kind of thin in the front court, but they're a whole bunch of moving pieces, and they're trying to put it together just like we are. And for us, we're trying to get acclimated with Terry Rozier. We're trying to, add Tyler, who's getting better. We'll talk about that because he had a great game yesterday, unfortunately, in a loss. But it's a lot of moving pieces on both sides, and you've seen a whole bunch of bad turnovers. But for us, I mean, one of my biggest things was from the free throw line. I think we shot 16 to 24. We missed 8 free throws. I think Jaime might have missed half those, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but he missed a few that I was just perplexed at. But when I look at this game again, Tyler was going crazy. He was hooping. he was doing whatever he wanted to. He had 34 points in 35 minutes, right? And just big salute to Tyler. He looks more confident than ever, which is you could think is impossible because it feels like he always has the most confidence in the room. But he's taking the right shots. He's hitting big time threes. He's getting to the rack, and he's really just playing off what the defense is giving him, and that's what the best scorers in the league do. So big salute to Tyler. But for the rest, I mean, Terry didn't really play that good in this game. He had 16 points. He kind of got hot later in the game, but I feel like he had a lot of shots that he could have easily made that he missed. But I think in due time, those will be makes. So I'm not even really tripping off him. Jimmy and Bam, I mean, look, you told us they only had 9 field goal attempts at the half, which cannot happen. This duo, no matter what people say, even though this duo hasn't won a championship together yet, this has been one of the best duos in the NBA in the last 5-6 years since they've been together. No doubt about it in my mind. And that's just unacceptable. And more so on Jimmy because he's a dude that we've seen multiple times. He has that takeover ability. And he just does not assert his will enough in the regular season. Obviously, in the playoffs, we've seen him do it a million times, so I never question that. But it's games like this where we're going to need him to be that dude, especially in the third quarters, like you mentioned. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's bad juju going into halftime. I don't know. There's no explanation for it, but for some reason they just struggled in the third quarter. And weirdly enough, it wasn't even that bad of a third quarter where the game got out of hand like that. They were still very much in this game. But you had timely shots from Deuce McBride. You had timely shots from Mikal Bridges. You know, the Knicks were doing all the little things. I feel like they won all the 50-50 plays. And so you got to salute it. I'm not going to knock them because at the end of the day, they won the game. And a lot of people be like, oh, we gave them the game. Nah, in my opinion, that's a cop-out because, yes, we could have won the game, but at the end of the day, one team has to do it, and they snatched it. And so it is what it is. As for Bam, he's been struggling, man. And it's been kind of tough because he had the Olympic run. He was looking very good in preseason, knocking down threes. He looked like he was about to unleash an entirely new offensive repertoire, but he's struggling right now. And I'm not going to kill him too much because, again, we're only, 4 games into the season, 5 games into the season. So it's all about patience to me, right? This team has to gel. We always talk about running back, running back, running back. And I said in our group chat last night, it's never – every year is a new team, no matter what anybody says, bro. Because again, it's guys that get better, it's guys that get worse, it's guys that need more shots, it's guys that need less shots, and it's always moving pieces around Jimmy and Bam. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to get acclimated to that. And Terry, in my opinion, you can make the case between him and the Dragon are the 2 best scoring guards that have played with Jimmy and Bam. So that's a whole nother piece that you gotta, add into the equation. So I'm not too worried. It was a tough loss. Shout out to Cat. I'm not a big fan of his at all either, but he was killing. You know what I'm saying? He had floaters. He had the mid-range game. He had the three-pointers. He had the pick and pops, pick and roll. He picked us apart. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that goes on Bam. But again, I'm not worried about Bam. He'll pick up the slack. We'll get better. It's on to the next one.
Right. And I mean, I'll say it like this, man. Last night was disappointing, but there's still promise for the squad. Like, I see everyone just crashing out, going crazy, and it's immediately back to the, let's trade Jimmy, man. Let's go see what we can get from Houston. Let's see what we can get from Golden State. And the thing is that people got to understand, while last night didn't go the way how it did, I think one of the main things is, simply those 2 guys are 2-star guys, as you were mentioning, like them being able to do what they're capable of doing. Like, at least we're still seeing what we need from other guys too. And it's like, we just need to implement that better. And obviously, I'm not going to question Spo, even if, we didn't see certain guys get the time that they needed to go out there and do their thing, whether if it was a Haywood Highsmith or someone like Alec Burks when, as we were talking before the show, like we could have really used some good defense yesterday. All of those things, like, I mean, we know who Spo is. We know he's a mad scientist, and he's someone who's probably going to be up at like 5 in the morning while everyone's asleep, just looking through these game footage clips and just trying to see, oh, well, you know what could I have done at this moment? What could I have done there? And, and he's going to experiment with all types of stuff to the point where we're just going to see all types of things left and right, So I'm not too stressed about all of that. And I feel like folks just got to take a deep breath because you know what? We played New York and we put up a valiant effort. And I know nobody wants to hear the moral victory and stuff. And I understand that because we did have a chance to win last night. But as you mentioned, Kev, like New York was able to capitalize on a lot of big moments here and there. And once we're able to implement everything better, once we get our top two guys, the guys that was responsible for us making it to the finals two times in like what now, like 6 seasons, or well, we don't count this as a full season yet, but two times in the last 5 seasons they've been together. These two guys who led us to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 of those 5 years, I believe. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So those guys who was able to do all that, they might not have a ring to show for all of it, but there's the reason why they've witnessed so much more success than some of the other elite duos in the NBA right now. So I'm not worried. I know everyone talk about, oh, this is gonna be Jimmy's regression year or whatever. I think we just gotta chill out and just let everything play out the way it needs to. Anything you want to say, Kev, before we move on?
Yeah, and I'll just say again, the way that these dudes play, mostly Jimmy, but of course your best player, it always kind of shadows down to the rest of the team. Their style of play is not predicated towards the regular season. The regular season is really kind of like 24 hours fitness runs where you're getting up and down, getting all these transition looks, all that. But in the playoffs, the reason the Heat have had all their success in the playoffs is because when the game slows down, you get less transition looks. The game isn't as easier. Defense is amplified times 10, and you got to really sit down the stance and guard for a full 24 seconds for the most part. And so, again, it's all about finding the tweaks in the regular season, which we'll talk about in a second, to maximize this offense and get everybody involved and to make sure that it's an equal effort. Because the one thing I will give Jimmy a lot of credit for is he's one of the most unselfish stars in the game, right? Obviously, you have the Joker, you have LeBron, you have a couple other guys sprinkled here and there, Luka, but Jimmy defers. And I always go back to one of the best dudes that thrived playing next to Jimmy was twin Caleb Martin. Why? Because Jimmy had the ultimate confidence in him and he would defer to him a lot. You go back and look at when we went to the finals in 2023, when we played the Nuggets in that Eastern Conference Finals, a lot of Caleb's looks were because of Jimmy. A lot of them. And people didn't notice that. And it's the reason why he won Eastern Conference MVP. But if you go back and watch it, Caleb was a recipient of a lot of good Jimmy Butler passes, whether it was out of a double team, cutting, being at the right place at the right time, whatever the case may be. So we're going to be fine. Again, just give it time. Like Joel said, Spo is in that lab right now, probably as we're speaking, with the rest of the coaching staff, trying to put as much tweaks in all these things and string it together. So I'm not worried whatsoever.
Right. And like you made another good point talking about Jimmy deferring and stuff. And I remember my first year of the Jimmy era. Like when Jimmy first came in, I'm like, okay, this is great. I can finally watch, an elite guy come in and maybe let me witness more 40, 50-point games. Like not even in the playoffs, because we've been blessed to see that by Jimmy there. Forget my bird, man. He going crazy, with this Jimmy slander too. He don't mess with it either. But like, you talking about regular season too, right? And I'm like, man, I'm trying to watch some Jimmy 40, 50 games here and there just to like get me pumped up. And I don't think he's had a 40, 50-point game like I don't think so. Yeah, in these 5 years he's been in Miami. And like it kind of like stressed me out. So I like in that first season, those first few games, I'm like, bro, I'm trying to watch Jimmy go off and do his thing right now. But like he's very quiet. What's going on? But then you saw the rise of the other guys. You saw the rise of Duncan Robinson, the rise of rookie Tyler Hero, who went on to have that insane season to the point where people didn't want to trade him for prime James Harden. But that's a whole other thing. You have Kendrick Nunn too. Like all them guys was going berserk that year. And it's because, maybe Jimmy could have had a few 40, 50 games or whatever in the regular season. But that wasn't his focus. His focus was getting these guys ready to, be ready when the lights are at its brightest. And you know what? People always want to underestimate what the Heat did that year because of the setting in which the playoffs took place during that season specifically. But bubble or no bubble, it's no secret why these guys y'all think we using some type of curse on is always ready year after year after year. Like speaking of the Knicks, we went to war with their fans last year, Kev. Like we was on that Twitter space and they like, man, get out of here. Well, not last year, but the year before, get out of here with that Gabe Vincent. Get out of here with that Max Strus. They told us this stuff. And yet those same guys later on was like, oh, you know what? Gabe Vincent's a free agent that following summer. So like maybe we could get him on a certain deal. So y'all went from saying y'all didn't like any of our players to now, oh, okay, well, let's see if we can snatch them from the Heat. So at this point, it's like for the Heat, you just gotta trust them because it's kind of clockwork. I get it. We're only 4 games in. I was gonna say I get it. It might not look too good, and it probably hasn't because you know what? We were down 30 to Orlando. Obviously, not a pretty way to start the season at home. And then you have last night's game, but there's so much more you gotta look to with this team. I know people get worried because of how last year went, but injuries played a huge part in it too. And I know people don't want to use that excuse for the squad. They want to say like, okay, this team is playing legit right now for the full 82 games in playoffs. But we didn't get that last year. I was hoping we would come postseason time, but Jimmy misses the whole series against Boston. So does Terry, and even other guys got injuries to the point where Jaime ends up missing game 5. And even a guy like DeLon, who could have done some key things here and there, he missed the game for the birth of his child. So it was a really tough year for the Heat from a health standpoint. And we still kind of deal with it now because no matter what people say, like Kevin Love hasn't played a single game of this regular season yet. Duncan's going to be out for this upcoming game with personal issues too. Like, we're going to get it together, though. And I hope to see Josh Richardson pull up real soon. I know he was cleared for the game before against Detroit. He was out for yesterday's game, but that's another guy you can add to this depth and potentially add a whole other thing to this roster. So overall, I'm not worried. And, like you've been mentioning, Kevin, like everyone just needs to chill out right now and let everything play out the way that it does. And, we've been talking a lot about that. And listen, I know nobody wants to look back at some of these past few games, but we're going to do it anyways. Like, Kev, looking back at games 1 through 4, like, what specifically, aside from what we've talked about with this New York game, would you say, like, we just got to clean up just to tighten?
Definitely the defense. I think the defense is the most important thing we got to get right because, again, you look at the success that we've had the past few years, and it's been predicated off of defense. And the communication's not there right now. They're not really playing on a string, but I'm not worried about the defense whatsoever. I think it's all about understanding each other, getting acclimated, again, communicating, the effort, doing all the little things that Spo demands, being in the right place at the right time, and just trusting in one another, trusting in the help side defense, trusting in, getting rebounds and all these things. Because that's really what it was versus Orlando. The thing with Orlando was they just know their identity way more. You know what I'm saying? Right now. I think that'll change as the season goes on. But for a younger team, they know what they want to do. And for us, again, it's going to take a little bit of time to get Terry fully acclimated, to understand how him and Tyler need to play off each other, to understand how him and Bam can maximize playing with each other and all those little nuances. So I definitely say the biggest thing is defense. And I promise y'all right now, I'll tell you, that's honestly the last thing I'm worried about, but you got to get that right. You know what I'm saying? Again, because majority of the Heat success these last few years has been all on that side of the floor. It's always been the offense has been the question. And the offense is another thing that'll get fixed. I'm not worried about it again because now you have 2 big-time scoring guards, in my opinion. And on top of that, you got other dudes off the bench. And we haven't even hit on Niko Jovic, who I thought played pretty well for the most part in a few of these games. But especially last night, I thought he could have attacked Jalen Brunson way more because he's a way taller body, obviously. But it's all about just trying to maximize his offense. And again, it has to go through your 2 best players. It has to start with Jimmy and Bam, no doubt about it. And then Terry and Tyler, some nights they'll lead us. Like last night, some nights they'll lead us. Some nights they'll be the 2 best scorers. And other nights it'll be Jimmy, it'll be Bam, it'll be Jaime, it'll be Nico, it'll be somebody random. It could be Alec Burks for all we know. But again, it's all about finding that balance on both ends of the floor. But specifically defensively, which again I'm not worried about, they'll figure it out. But again, you just got to get stops. And most importantly, it's not even about being necessarily a lockdown team like how they were in 2022, but it's more so about being trustworthy in one another and getting timely stops at the right time. That's the thing. And so for me, again, I'll keep emphasizing I am not worried whatsoever. It's just about putting it all together. And right now, they haven't done that. But it takes time. And I think that's going to be the best part about the season is that when they do, you're going to start to see them click. And then they're going to look like one of the better offensive teams that Jimmy and Bam have been around.
Right. And like I don't think people understand like there's a reason why the squad isn't panicked. There's a reason why I see folks getting worked up because, oh, Jimmy's posting on his Instagram story, his pics and whatnot, just minutes after losing. Y'all think he really that stressed to the point where he's just sulking in the locker room? Like, nah, there's patience to this stuff. It was funny because my friend was telling me the other day her sister went to see the Heat team, or like at least some of the players pull up some voting thing here in Miami, and like they see Jimmy and Bam, and they all jolly and stuff. Some of the other guys was kind of in a bad mood. It was like right after that game against Orlando, and like she thought it was just so funny how they was in a good mood. But Spo, y'all know who Spo is, so like he ain't gonna be like completely happy. He's not a guy that really smiles much, anyways, here and there. So he's pulling up. He's kind of got a little stern look. Same thing with Tyler. But Jimmy and Bam, the two guys who you think would probably be stressed the most, or at least who these fans think should be stressed the most, they're there having a good time doing their own stuff and just enjoying the moment. And that just goes to show like these guys are not worried because they've been in these types of moments before. They know what it's like to struggle to the point where they're the 8th seed, but yet they're still in the finals the same season. And whether if you want to call it a fluke or not, that did happen. Okay, because we still beat the best team in the NBA record-wise to get to the second round. We then beat the team that we played last night, a team who, was apparently supposed to have this hostile environment that was going to shake our guys who were too new for this moment. We went and beat them. We did that. And then we went to Boston, almost fumbled it, but we went to game 7 at TD Garden and handled business. We did all of that stuff. So for all the folks that still want to act new to this, I understand it can be stressful, some of these L's here and there. And I don't like it too because I was hoping for a statement win last night, but there's still 78 games left. It's not like we're back in the play-in right now. It's not like it's a matter of, okay, well, it's looking like we're going to have to play Boston again the first round. Man, we don't even know what seed we're going to finish with yet, all right? Like, we got to chill out and just let it play the way how it needs to. And then we just got to take it easy because we know what the squad is capable of doing. Because as you mentioned, Kev, we got guys like Terry Rozier who ain't even been fully acclimated yet because of some of the things that went on last season. And there's a reason why, and I know this pissed off a lot of people, this quote, but you had guys like Andy Ellsberg coming in saying, like, while it might not seem like an ideal type of offseason for this squad, we look at bringing a guy like Terry Rozier in as a free agent offseason move, and that's a way to look at it because, like we mentioned before, no playoff games was played with this dude last year, and we couldn't get this guy acclimated with the team because before you know it, he missed like a week or two with the injury. I think after that one game against Boston last year, and then that neck injury that kept him out for the remainder of the year. So to get him ready to go and to have Tyler, who's been playing at such an encouraging rate to the point where he's going band for band with Cat last night. All of those things put together, the promise is there. Once we get our two guys going, like it's gonna be fine. And I feel like everyone just gotta take a step back. I know I've been saying it over and over again, but y'all know who you are because I already had to mute and block like 50 different accounts yesterday, and I don't want to keep doing this stuff, man. I can't keep taking these protocols with y'all. All of that put to the side, man, I do want to talk about, looking at this team. Like, aside from, the performances that we've looked at, whether if it's from like a Jimmy or a Bam, what's been like the main thing that's really pleased you the most about the squad so far? I mean, I know we already talked about the Tylers and, the Terrys, but all of that put to the side, like what's been the main thing that's caught your attention with this squad, Kevin?
I think it's the unlimited possibilities offensively, because again, they haven't fully put it together. We know that. But I think with this team, Tyler has gotten better. Terry's a scorer that they haven't had, as I've already mentioned. Jimmy is still an elite scorer. Bam can still evolve. Jaime looks like he got better. Alec Burks gives you another dimension offensively. You still got Duncan's three-point shooting. You got K Love when he gets back. So to me, again, it goes back to last year. The offensive versatility can be special. It's all about how can Spo and how can they, the players, put it all together. And again, over time they will, but it's going to be very interesting because again, on any given night, you could have certain guys leading the team in scoring. You could have about 3 to 4 different guys that could lead this team in scoring. And sometimes that's a curse and sometimes it's a blessing. But I think for the Heat, again, the team that struggled offensively, it's a blessing. And eventually, especially because just in the regular season, that's all you need. Because again, as you mentioned, in the postseason, 22 gonna wake up. We all know that. We don't question that whatsoever. So to me, it's about just getting that blend and balance. And I think that's what's intrigued me the most because even again, Nico looks pretty good. Nico looks like he's starting to get more confidence. He's gotten stronger. You know, he can hit shots and he just looks like he's a player now. It's the reason he's starting. And so it's a lot of different options on this team. And that's why even though I want to go in on Jimmy, and yeah, some moments that he should have took over in this game versus the Knicks last night, it's guys that can go get themselves a bucket too. You know what I'm saying? It's not just him. Usually it's had to be him because he's clearly our best player and he's been relied upon to do a lot. But now, again, when Tyler's going crazy like that, you got Terry. You know, when Bam wakes up out of this slump, you'll have him eventually. So I think that's been the most intriguing thing. And again, I want to see what's going to be their staple, you know, because different years has been different things. One year was the Bam and Duncan dribble handoffs. Other years it was, you know, Goran doing his thing. You've had a lot of different things. You had the backdoor cuts. That was a major staple. So I'm very intrigued and looking forward to seeing what Spo makes an emphasis for this team.
Right. And like you mentioned, there's so much ways in which this squad can go about it. And I think one thing is that it's going to require patience because since there are so many ways this team can really go about stuff, that means we're going to see a lot more experiments as this season goes on. A lot more moments here and there where fans are going to look at Spo being like, why the heck does this guy have so-and-so on the floor or this guy on the court? And I know it's going to piss people off, but like, this is the best coach in the NBA for a reason. Like this is part of the reason why he's a top 15 coach. He goes out and he does these experiments for the better of this team. And let's be blessed that we have a guy who's capable of handling like having these many not opportunities, but possibilities on the floor to put together a good offense. I understand people are worried. I saw one person tweet yesterday, oh, like Spo needs to get himself an offensive coordinator. And I understand it's a little mind-boggling what's going on at the moment, but just let everything play out the way it needs to because, you know, Spo has always been able to figure it out. You know, I understand that else can be ugly, but as long as he's here, you know, we can count on him to figure these things out. And it also doesn't hurt that you have Jimmy and Bam, who's been through the thick of it too. And they're going to be able to play a key part in that as well. So, all of that being said, to mention that, you know, this team will be able to figure it out. You know, I trust Bo, I trust Jimmy, I trust Bam. And as long as we continue getting the production from these other guys, especially people like Tyler and Terry too. And I'm not saying they got to go out and have the games that they had last night, well, specifically Tyler, because that's unrealistic. We know that we can't just expect them to go out and give us a consistent 30 per night or whatever. But if you can go out there and continue to show that fearlessness, that confidence, which, like you mentioned, Kev, we all knew it was there, but like it always pissed us off, you know, because it's like, okay, he's very confident, but he's taking the most unrealistic shots known to God, and he ends up finishing the game like 6 of 17. Like if he can still go out there, take some good shots while also attacking the rim, like there have been some difficult buckets he's been getting where he's attacking the rim and still finding a way to get the ball through the hoop. Stuff like that is really encouraging to see, and I can't wait to see more of it. All of that stuff put together, like it's going to be a fun season, y'all. Like don't let that record fool you. And I guess my final thing, you know, before we wrap it up, because I feel like this whole thing been kind of like a cold to gathering or whatever, just to get y'all some of you guys off the ledge. Like I understand, man. I understand. Like you can ask Kevin. Like I'm always asking him or our guy Kate. Do y'all think the Heat gonna win a championship day after day? Because I just want to see the squad win a ring, and it's to the point where I'm like, okay, y'all think the production on the squad has reached that point where we gonna get it done? And I understand we all want to see a ring too, but it does comes with the ebbs and flows that we gotta be patient for. And we just got to take it game by game. And that includes this upcoming one against, Washington. And this one game is going to be in Mexico City. So there's that. I'm just gonna go out and say it. We should be able to blow the Wizards out, man. And I don't know. I expect Bam to give Alex Sarr his welcome to the league moment, as these podcasters call it. So I just want to know, Kev, like, what's your expectations for this game?
Of course, like every game, a win. You know what I'm saying? But again, I want to see the ball moving offensively, because that is one of the few complaints you can have about Jimmy, is that sometimes when he gets the ball, he takes a little bit too long to get into isolation situations. Right, he'll take 1 to 4 dribbles and try and spin or get to the rack, whatever the case may be. But I want to see the ball pop. I want to see it move from side to side. I want to see good quality shots taken. And I think Tyler did take a lot of good shots again yesterday. So I don't want to make it seem like he's just the problem. But same thing from Terry, right? Take the shots that you get. Jimmy and Bam are going to encourage you to take as many shots as possible. So don't be afraid to shoot it, but take the right shot, take the timely shots. If a defender is lazy on their closeout, make them pay. If they overplay it, drive and get to the rim, or drive and kick. Do the simple things. And that's what I really want to see, is just play an unselfish brand of basketball. The game rewards you when you play it right. And that's just the facts of the matter. So really, again, the Wizards, we already know what they are. They have a couple of good pieces. I think Bilal Coulibaly's been playing really well to start the season also. He may present a few challenges, but lock in defensively. Again, continue to try and play on the string, communicate, help the helper, have each other's backs, stay true to your principles, listen to what Spo's preaching, and we're going to be fine, man. But I expect a quality win in this game and just an overall team effort from everybody that plays in this game.
Amen, man. And I hope my guy Jaime goes off, man. Do it for all the Mexicans out there, bro. Go out, bowl out, do your thing, bro. Like, let's go get this win for Mexico, man. Like, to go out there and, do one for your heritage. Like, I know he's going to be ready for the moment. So, big ups to Jaime, man. Go do it for your peoples. So, all of that. And then, before we do wrap it up, bro, because let's be real, it's the Wizards. The Heat should be able to stomp them out. I do want to talk about one thing quickly before we wrap it up, because I know it's been on everyone's minds. Everyone's been talking about it all over socials. Just your quick thoughts on this Dwyane Wade statue, Kev, because like, I'm not gonna lie, I've been bummed out. Like, I see so much people trolling us, and I'm like, dang, there's no way this causing this much havoc on y'all, because I can't even go to the DMV, man. I went to the DMV the other day to take care of something, and I'm looking at the TV. They got Fox News on, and these folks talking about the Dwyane Wade statue. You know how heated I was at that? That now we even getting right wing folks in on this debate, like. No, it's like all I'm seeing is just memes and everybody giving all types of takes here and there. And I'm like, geez, bro, don't tell me the statue is that bad where you guys see all these memes and stuff. And like, I don't know. What makes me feel better is the fact that Dwyane Wade picked that. Like, if y'all don't believe me, he's been posting pics on his socials, his stories and stuff of him like picking out what the head should be and all that other stuff. So if y'all don't like the statue, at least just know that our GOAT liked it. So even if y'all not vibing with it, shoot. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I was asleep when the statue ceremony was going on. So when I open Twitter and then the first thing I see on my TL is to pick up the statue. And like when I wake up, I'm clueless. I don't know what's going on. So I ain't gonna lie. When the first second I looked at it, I was like, wait, who is this? And then I realized that Wade was getting his statue today, and I realized quickly that was him. So, it's a good statue. It's a good statue, man. If Wade likes it, then it gets the seal of approval from me. But Kev, what about you, man?
That's exactly what I'm about to say. As long as D-Wade likes it, then I'm not mad at it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Is it the best? No. And look, I'm out here in LA. I've been over to Staples Center a few different times. Kobe got some real good statues. And coincidentally, they're the same exact artist that did his, that did D-Wade's. You know what I'm saying? So could they have done a better job? Of course. I feel like sculpting is one of the tougher things to do. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some big-time artist, so I'm not going to be too hypercritical over it. But again, man, it's a big, big honor regardless. Again, he's our franchise's greatest player of all time. He deserved it. I thought it was a good ceremony. And, in front of him, his family, former Heat players and current Heat players. So I'm not going to be too critical. Is it tough? Is it a lot of funny jokes on Twitter? Yes. I'm not going to even act like it's not. That statue's been getting grilled and fried, but hey, we did it better than Philly. Philly got them mini statues out there. At least we put a nice big one up there for D-Wade, for anybody that pulls up to the arena. So it is what it is, man. It's tough, but a statue's a statue nonetheless. Yeah, it doesn't look like him all the way, but it's not absolutely horrendous. It's not god awful. It's just a few minor details in his face that could have been worked out. But regardless, at the end of the day, like you said, if he likes it, I love it, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, like that, and like he mentioned this in his speech, bro. There's not even 15 players in the whole NBA history who can even say they got a statue, man. But Dwyane Wade does. Like that's kind of crazy to think about. Like our guy really got his own statue outside the arena. So he, and like you mentioned, that Philly statue of Allen Iverson is nuts, bro. Like they literally got their guys looking like whole midgets and stuff, and that's just not how we roll around here. So I'm happy to see our guy get his flowers. And it's tough because, I never want to say goodbye to Dwyane Wade in the career that he's had. But unfortunately, like, this is, like, really the final thing unless the Heat can come up with more stuff. Because we've had the jersey retirement. We've had the Hall of Fame night, watching him get inducted. And now we've had the statue. So this is basically it. And even the Heat themselves acknowledged it. Like, this is really the last time that we'll really get to acknowledge him and the career he had for this squad. So, to watch him get that type of moment with his family and being able to, have this one final accolade, like it's going to be a great moment no matter what. Can't wait to go to a Heat game very soon and take a picture next to it. And it's going to be a great time. So aside from that, going back to this Heat team, is there anything you want to say, Kev, before we wrap it up?
Keep the faith. They're going to figure it out. Bam, Jimmy Spo clearly has the recipe. We've seen it multiple times. Yeah, have they fallen short? Yes. But have they been there and have more success than 99% of the NBA these last few years? Yes. Trusting them to put it all together, trusting them to maximize his offense. The defense, again, I have no worries about whatsoever. They're going to figure that out. They're going to get in the right situations. They're going to win big-time games versus good teams on the road. They're going to hold down home court more than they'll lose on it. And we're going to be fine, man. Just give us some time. Like Joe said, it's 78 games left in the season. That's plenty of time to put it together and get right for playoff time. And so, again, as always, keep the faith. We're going to be straight.
Exactly, man. Like, Jimmy's not regressing yet, y'all. Like, let's take a deep breath with that stuff. Keep y'all trade machine stuff out the way for now. And also, with the Bam stuff, leave Asia alone, man. I see some of y'all stuff on socials, bro. Like, I promised they was dating well before this stuff. So please leave that poor woman alone. All of that being said, though, man, thank y'all so much for tuning in to today's episode of Heat vs. the World. Make sure to follow my guy Kev on Twitter at KevLuke, THA the Great. And make sure to follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. Make sure to follow Heat vs. the World on all platforms at HVTW Podcast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Got so much content heading y'all way. Biscayne Breakdown with Kevin K and Dean should be dropping a new episode very soon. So be on the lookout for that. And aside from that, man, hit my music because we out.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast.